So welcome to this 5 city expert session. The dynamic of the session is going to be very similar to the one on the other day. I will introduce it briefly just in case you were not here. We have 5 guests that have been invited by 5 of our workshop leaders. These experts, we understand they are experts from other fields related to the city. They work around the city, but they come from different work fields, different than architecture, urbanism and urban planning as you are represented here. So without more delay, I will give the word to Izar Conchichilla that will introduce his guest.
Hello, good morning, and sorry to interrupt your amazing work and concentration. Emilio Luque is my guest, or our guest. I know all the leaders from the other workshops are really jealous, so sorry about it. Because he is amazing, and probably he has worked or have a relationship with most of the workshop leaders and most of the architects in Spain that are trying to do something socially relevant. So sorry that I have been the one inviting. And Emilio is at the moment architect professor in the distance university. It's called Luque in Spain, so that he is not usually he's not working. So I was saying, all the workshop leaders are jealous because Emilio Luque is an amazing sociologist that is really, let's say, activating most of the young offices around Madrid and in Spain, especially all those that are trying to do something with people, which is supposedly most of the architects, but is not the case sometimes. He is at the moment teaching in distance university. It's called UNED in Spain. This is meaning he is not usually in front of his students, and he is associated professor there, as well as making research and a lot of different projects in master and different institutions around Spain and abroad. I just want to say very briefly something that is amazing about Emilio. First of all, he's having a long-term relationship with architecture. So this is really, let's say, a big opportunity for us to hear him, because he knows the profession quite well. And he is quite critical with most of the architects and the way in which they are practicing at the moment. Second thing that is very important, he is having a very wide and interesting appreciation and approach to design, so that he is proposing that sociologists are able to design, for example, things like participatory process in the way we are designing our project. He is having the, let's say, approach to social practices that is based on the idea that we really have to build and design these practices in a way. So it's not a merely, let's say, take it from granted issue that we have to ask or make surveys, but really design strategies to engage with people and communities. And the third thing I want to say is that he is having an amazing knowledge about environmental practices, concerns, awareness, and policies. So it's really these 3 conditions, knowing the architects very well, being critical with them, thinking that social practices has to be designed, having a background in environmental issues, and also, of course, knowing most of us. I think it's for us a great opportunity to really listen to him, and he is probably one of the best advisors for all this kind of workshop that we could have. Thank you so much for coming, Emilio.
Hi? It works now? Right, it's an awful thing to be presented this way, because you can only fail now. You've been told you're amazing, so if you're a little bit less than amazing, then it's going to be total failure. So I apologize in advance for having such a good friend in Tuscany. But it's true that I've been engaged in a relationship, love-hate relationship with architects. Not really architecture, more like architects. It's about, I think that if you engage architecture, you begin to say what you like and you don't like, which is actually the disease of architecture. Is one of the maladies that you have in the profession. But I look at you as a kind of my tribe, because I'm an anthropologist. So you can go to Africa or Asia or to architecture studies and look at the tribe there and see what their values are, what their practices are. But in this case, I'm not going to present part of that research, but I'm going to try and engage with this notion of middle-out urbanism, which is, well, quite interesting. I thought I'm usually decrying this top-down relationship that architects and urbanists tend to have with that underlings, or those underlings that are called people. The other possibility is this bottom-up revolt against the elites, and in Madrid we have a lot of that lately. So these are the things I wanted to come to terms with. I wanted to come to grips with it, and this is my first try to do that. So it's about languages, I think, in the end. What languages are you taught? What languages are you trained in developing and using? And have you got the right languages? And you only have one. You're visually impaired, meaning that it's only architecture if it's visual. The only type of, I'm generalizing, of course, but I am a sociologist, so I'm entitled to do this type of thing and call it science. But I will think that the visual is so much present in your imaginary, in your practices, that you take it for granted. Actually, a very, let's say, important architect told me that because my students, architecture, in a master's degree in architecture, had taped people talking about the building they lived in, and he rejected it. He said that there are no drawings, there are no mappings, there's nothing visual about it. So he just couldn't accept that there are other languages of representing reality. And I think that's a real impairment, that you can only use the visual as a way of representing what people do and where they do it. But of course, that has a reason, that visual representations are enormously powerful. And my favorite example is Le Corbusier, when he had this huge plan of killing Paris and obliterating the Marais in the center of Paris. And a student of his in a video I saw said, well, he made a grand gesture, and yeah, there, just that. You use your pen and a few drawings, you obliterate hundreds of thousands of people, lives and history and all that. So visual representations, abstract visual representations are enormously powerful. So what I'm asking you is to reject some of that power and get into the messy, slow way of doing things. I don't know if you've read this Umberto Eco book, The Name of the Rose. I translated from Spanish, obviously. And he said, what is it that you are most afraid of? Purity, being pure. He said, being in a hurry. They're always in a hurry. That's what I think about architects. They're always in a hurry. And let's take Paris out of the way, or whatever. So you getting into the slow, messy, painstaking business of understanding people is what I'm asking you to do. So I'm asking you to relinquish some of your power and actually to reinvent your profession and your sources of income, which is even more difficult to do. It looks like it's less a part, or it's never in the picture. But what I'm asking you is finding ways to make a living out of being good people and good architects, in the sense that I'm trying to defend here. So, you know, Upton Sinclair, the progressive writer of the beginning of the century in America, said that if the salary of a man depends, women didn't work at the time, if the salary of an architect depends on his not understanding something, they will not understand it. And I think that is the case. And actually, I think children are a very good litmus test, a very good test if we're going the right way into trying to understand what people do. And these people are quite important. So, what do the architects and urbanists do? They say, learn my language. This is not their language. This is the language of the architect, of the urban planner. But he said, no, unless you talk to me in images, I cannot understand you. What we see here is a visually impaired because of the predominance of the hegemony of the visual. Of course, children will eventually understand something like that, but the relation to urban space is about meaning, it's about relationships. It's not, is that the street is where my friend lives, where my cousin lives, that's where I do things. So we have to go into practices instead of space representations. That's the whole point of my talk. So you can leave now and come back when starts. But this is all I wanted to say. We have to learn new languages. Because this looks like a bad urban planner design. This is, okay, you're trying, come on, let's get better at being me. Instead of, let's find out how I can know a little bit about what you need, what you do. That doesn't mean, by the way, that there is a truth in people waiting to come out. That doesn't mean that, and I think that is exactly where middle out makes sense. It's not that bottom out, there's a beautiful truth raising and illuminating us. There is not, of course, the top-down view of an illuminated architect or an enlightened architect that knows what is best for all of us. So maybe there's something to this middle-out encounter between different types of language. I'm just going to go through a few instances of what I think what this language problem is. I was trying, this is an urban garden near to my children's school that we started 3 years ago. And I haven't been able, and this is honest to God, I haven't been able to find out what that color means. Is it, I have sort of deduced it must be something about school, but maybe it's sanitary because it used to be for health issues. So this is the new plan. This is an easy tool, they say. The town hall says this is an easy tool for you to engage. Well, of course they are talking the architect's language or the urban planner language. And even with, well, I'm a PhD, I should be able to understand this type of thing. No, I couldn't. So somebody will tell me eventually. That is your language, but this is the girl who knew what should be done, Jane Jacobs. And there's something interesting about Jane Jacobs. She wasn't the real pioneer in this. The real pioneer in defending some of areas in New York where children would play was not Jane Jacobs or Louis Mumford. It was Shirley Hayes. Shirley Hayes is not known. Nobody knows. I couldn't find a picture to place that. But actually she's the one that started it. What I mean is that middle-out urbanists, middle-out architects must engage in a fight. It's not about playing the intellectual again, only in a closer distance with people. No, it's about engaging in their fights. This is an important message for me. Because usually they seem to be, she said, planners seem less equipped intellectually for respecting and understanding. I have a proposal at the end about how to reconstruct architecture in this respect. So let's go. The populist way, this is about actually our new political parties that present themselves as not politicians, we're just people. So here they are mocking this type of non-professionalist type of way of engaging with things. Don't worry, we're not surgeons, we're just citizens, we're just people here. Well, you are not people. You don't go into middle-out urbanism pretending you're just people, because we are missing a lot. There's a lot of capabilities that we're missing. Just don't go all Le Corbusier at it, but don't pretend you're just people. It's a pity. This is something that, to me, it exemplifies what you must reinvent as well, which is our relationship with power. This is Gabriel Voisin. That's where the plan voisin comes from, where Le Corbusier tried to convince, to persuade automobile manufacturers that his city, the city he was proposing, was excellent. So you have to reinvent how to engage with power. And actually, what I love, you always learn new things. Did you know that Gabriel Voisin invented the biscuita? this scooter. It was built in Spain. This was like aluminum, 50 kilograms or something like that. No backward, no back. So you had to, I didn't know if he was the inventor or the designer of that. And there's a lot about automobiles. The Ville Savoir, and you know that it was designed so his car could turn around. So there's always an image of the good society. And that is something else that you have to build. A new conception to engage with your own understanding of what a good society is, and then leave it aside. I'm sorry. You have to rebuild that type of personal utopia. Because otherwise you get to Robert Moses and the way he did grand gestures in New York. So let's put here a 10-lane road, which, well, of course, that is the Pulido. That should be right. He said, there is nobody against his New York planning. Nobody except mothers. Just a bunch of mothers. Which indicates a little bit of your mindset. And you may think that doesn't exist anymore. I'll give you Exhibit A in a second. But there is a problem. What kind of understanding do you have, let's say, in the social sciences way of understanding why people act in certain ways? And I think you used, instead of practice theory, which is the way I go, I think you're into cultural mentalism, which is people do things because they think that they should be doing that, because their values and attitude take them to that place. And actually, I don't think that's the way it works. But I think when you go social, you go that road, which is actually a classical social theory way. And what does practice theory mean? And I think Jane Jacobs was actually a very good practitioner of practice theory. She just walked around and looked and observed. Walked and found out. Because what she found was that there was a huge choreography. There were thousands of practices engaging and a lot of things and bodies and knowledges and emotions. And that, I don't think you're dealing with that in your designs, I'm sorry. So you must be doing something like that, engaging with that multiplicity. Of course, that involves asking for help. Yes, architects are asking for help. You may think that this idea of the heroic architect and planner doesn't work anymore, it doesn't exist. I just got that, and it's a review of the Fountainhead, of a beautiful film of the architect as hero against the masses, and that is, I don't know, what year is it? 1949? 1940. And this is what the review said, written this year. Of course, we have to escape the masses. We have this necessary sensibility or sensitiveness for the creation of moving spaces. We have it. We don't need to engage with other people because we know what there is going to move them. This is from this morning, so it's not 1940 exactly. People can do this. This is an illiterate peasant in India asking one of the guys who wanted to sell them GMOs, genetically modified organisms, asking him is if the bacteria in the soil would be affected. Illiterate, asking that? Yeah. They had a citizen's jury for 2 days, and she was as good as an expert as far as she needed, which was to make good questions. And I think that you have to design Itasco was saying something like that, we should be designing spaces where people can ask better questions. In the end, this is what I said. In the end, Jane Jacobs was a fighter. And what she learned about was something that was about what people fought for, what people find valuable. You have to find that. You need to get to that space where people are telling you what is interesting. It's same as education. If you're not interested in this, well, I'm not doing my job. Probably I'm not. And, well, that's what they said. Shirley Case, this is the sign of Shirley Case and the Washington Square Park demonstrations and fights. And what they did, well, what some architects do is engage in liberal urbanism, which is to demystify planning and helping people with the tools that are necessary to reinvent things. Wow, and this is my proposal. I think the problem with architecture, with planners and architects is here. No empathy, no test. What I mean is that, of course, you define, ideate, and prototype, but you don't get feedback from that. Well, actually, it's like the murderer who is always returning to the scene of his crime. Well, in this case, you perpetrate a building and nobody comes back to see if it's working or not. There is very little learning feedback, I think. That's an old fight of mine. But here I would emphasize the empathy part, which I think is lacking to a very great extent. And this is design thinking. You're in America, you're called urban designers or building designers, but I think you haven't got designer's mindset, and mainly the empathy and test parts. In the end, this is Zaha Hadid cutting the ribbon of one of his wonderful masterpieces, and I think we should be ribbon tying. And actually, Shirley Hayes, when trying to fight this traffic and car-based schemes of Robert Moses, she proposed ribbon tying ceremonies, going back, de-inaugurating things. And your profession is about inaugurating things, it's about ribbon cutting. So you've got to learn to go the other way around, I think. Because I think you're the first profession that is forced to understand that, that the world is full. It's full. It's full and it's full. And you've got to learn how to reduce, reuse, and repurpose the city. In the same way that we've got to learn to reduce, reuse, and repurpose just about everything. And for that you need new equipment. That's it.
Thank you, Emilio, for your wonderful and inspiring presentation. And now, Mauro, one of our workshop leaders from BIC.
I'm Mauro from Studio SIC and BIC, and we are very proud to present you here Carolina Pulido and Ivan Ramirez for the PA. As you know, and you may know these days, the PA is the citizen, the big citizen initiative in Spain that works and makes effort to understand how this thing we are suffering in Spain from evictions. We have companies, we have administration that is taking up people from their own house. So they are activists. Carolina is sociologist, Ivan is economist, and they are activists since 6 years ago from the PA platform, that means the mortgage affected people platform in Madrid. In our workshop we are developing this situation of how also a middle class could be understanding in different ways, and foreclosure processes are processes when many different things are engaged. There's the PA process that visibilizes this problem in every scale and every part of the city, and how these things builds and construct another idea of domesticity in Madrid that the workshop is developing, and we will show you these days. So thanks for coming here, and we will translate and have for you the translation of the things Carolina and Ivan is going to tell you.
Okay, how many people speak Spanish here, please? Oh, great. We don't need translator.
Como veis en esta primera diapositiva, hoy os quiero hablar de la PA, aunque voy a contextualizar un poco y os voy a contar un poquito para los que no conozcáis lo que es la PA y cuál ha sido el impacto realmente de los desahucios aquí en España. Nuestro objetivo hoy era hablar desde como experiencia de empoderamiento urbano y cómo van surgiendo en esta ciudad a partir de eso nuevas formas de repensar el común con mirada de género, ¿vale? Bueno, para contextualizar un poquito, para los que no sabéis de dónde ha venido todo esto, ¿no? Os imagino que algo habréis oído, porque además esto ha sido una crisis a nivel mundial. En el 2008 estalla lo que llamamos, o lo que llaman, la burbuja inmobiliaria, ¿vale?
Okay, Carolina says, okay, I'm so sorry for my English, okay? I will try to do my best. Well, she's speaking about our movement, okay, PAH, okay, PAM in Spanish, PAM. And she tries to explain what is the origin of our movement in this society, okay, specifically in Madrid.
Bueno, 2008 estalla la burbuja inmobiliaria, se inicia la crisis inmobiliaria en España, que todavía continúa, y a este estallido de la burbuja inmobiliaria, que tiene que ver con la brusca caída de la demanda de vivienda y la caída del precio de la vivienda, se suma el incremento del paro y otro tipo de condiciones económicas que hacen que mucha gente se vea en situación de impago.
Okay, the near origin of our crisis, or real estate crisis, is the real estate bubble. Okay, this real estate bubble, it was bluff, more or less in 2007. Okay, the causes are the decreasing of demand, domestic demand. Okay. Also the creation of housing prices, okay? Why? The BCA, Central Bank of Europe, makes the interest rates decreasing, but very speed, okay? In a short term of time, okay? And then families are in situation of impago?
Payment.
Yeah, say unpayment. Yeah, mainly because thank you. The families from Spain are in this situation, okay, in default, okay. Why? Because the employment rate is increasing, okay, speedily in this period of time, from 2007 and nowadays. Result, almost 500,000 of persons were evicted, okay, from their home.
Por dar otra cifra, en el primer semestre del año pasado, los datos que sacaron es unos 140 desahucios diarios en todo el Estado español.
We have more or less in last year, I mean 2014, more or less 140 evictions per day, okay, natural day in Spain. This is, if you take your calculator, you got it.
Ante esta situación, ¿cuál ha sido la respuesta de la Administración y cuál ha sido la respuesta de la sociedad civil? ¿No? Pues la respuesta de la Administración o del Estado ha sido no rescatar a las familias, sino a las entidades bancarias. Sorry.
Sí, un poco, sí.
Dale.
Sí, dale. Sí, dale.
So the issue Carolina is talking about is which was the response to face this problem or this trouble from the state or the government and the social platforms or the social sphere.
Y la respuesta de la sociedad civil ha sido colectivizar el problema, autoorganizarse para la lucha, ¿no? Y eso es lo que ha dado el resurgir del movimiento de la vivienda en España, que ya existía.
So the answer, the main answer comes from the social sphere, which collectivized the trouble, and they self-organize to coordinate the struggle and the fight against this problem. So somehow that collective effort rise up the fight against the evictions in Spain, and the fighting for the rights of the housing.
Surge la PA. ¿Y qué es la PA? Bueno, la PA es muchas cosas, pero yo hoy quiero destacar algo que es la PA y que creo que es lo más importante y lo que planta la semilla de lo que yo llamo la revolución urbana, y es que la PA es un movimiento social que desde mi punto de vista apuesta por la transformación integral, personal y colectiva para vivir una vida que merezca la pena ser vivida. Os lo he puesto difícil, lo siento.
So, a little bit of contextualize the housing in Spain. It was treated as a economic tool or an economic object. So the people get this feeling of getting rich. So there was no social aspects related with the dwelling or the housing. So the PA is trying to change that feeling and substitute the economical aspect of the housing for the social aspect. So the house is first of all a place where you have to live and where you have to live in a better way to be happy and to engage with the people, not just an economical tool or economical aspect of your life.
Bueno, es además un movimiento que sin pretenderlo en primera instancia está contribuyendo a una revolución urbana, a unas nuevas formas de mirar lo urbano, que plantea además nuevas formas de convivencia y de pensar lo común. Lo vamos a ver luego al final. Con el surgimiento de las PAs, para mí, se inician dos procesos. Uno que tiene que ver con la visibilización y la denuncia social, y otro que tiene que ver con la construcción de un nuevo sujeto político, o no tan nuevo.
So after the 500,000 evictions in Spain, you can understand that the PA, during the first moment, they tried to deconstruct the whole policy about housing in Spain. All the governmental policies and the bank policies were aimed to be of the housing was to be a property of the people, so they have to change those minds. They have to shift the meaning of the housing and try to give the social meaning of the housing. So the first point is to visualize and to let's say point it out the social aspects and deconstruct the governmental policies of being a property and to treat the house as an economical tool. And the second one was the collective construction of a new political subject, which is the society and the people affected by the eviction.
Esta primera parte del proceso de visibilización y denuncia social, ¿cómo lo hace la PA? Lo hace utilizando tres herramientas de lucha, que yo creo que es lo que le dan precisamente valor a este movimiento. Por un lado, la desobediencia civil, que se ejerce en el momento en el que las personas ponen su cuerpo frente a la puerta para paralizar un desahucio, con acciones en la calle, con los scratches, acciones en bancos, ¿no? Una desobediencia civil que por otro lado está totalmente legitimada, porque la vivienda es un derecho universal que está recogido en legislación internacional y española. Esa herramienta por un lado. Por otro lado, la autogestión, las asesorías colectivas. En la PA no hay expertos y expertas, sino que no hay nadie más experto que la persona que está viviendo esa situación, ¿no? La gente se reúne y el que es experto es el que ha vivido ya eso, y lo que hace es compartir su experiencia, y todos y todas nos transformamos en expertos. A través de los talleres, de los grupos de acompañamiento y de apoyo mutuo, ¿vale? Y por la vía institucional, estas tres vías. Por la vía institucional, hasta ahora se presentó una ILP, hace unos años se consiguió 1,5 millones de firmas por primera vez en este país, no llegó a nada, pero utilizamos la vía institucional, a través de las negociaciones en los bancos y a través de las negociaciones en las administraciones locales para desahucios de casas sociales.
So the main actions of the PA were divided in three main branches or three main movements. The first one is to protest against the previous situation, and that's called some actions in the street like demonstrations and protests. scratches, which is a word coming from Argentina, from the Corralito, and it's pointed out the politicians which are not able or not willing to defend in terms of a legal way to protect these people as second opportunity or to, let's say, cover the evictions. And then actions in the banks. We had some banks which were more comfortable with them to negotiate the evictions, but some others which even were rescued by the public funds. They were making evictions every day, so they were trying to, the people from PA, they enter in the banks and they perform kind of a party or performance in the bank to let's say show it in the media, and also with the administration, local administration. This was the protest branch, but then they have a proposal branch which is aiming to aiming for the people to empower themselves in terms of be sensibilized and be affected somehow, even if you're not evicted, by this kind of problem. So they make this collective advising from the expert from PA, and also workshops and different groups to cover and to support the people affected by the evictions, and also some care, human care. And the third one was directly negotiate with the government. So they use a, let's say, political tool which is included in our constitution, which is ILP, which is Popular Initiative or Popular Law Initiative. That means, ¿cuántas necesitas para? So you need 500,000 signatures from people to, let's say, present a law to the Congress, and they get 1 million. Almost 1 million and 500, 1 million and a half senators from all the country. So they presented to the Congress, and it was a huge debate in the Congress to change the mortgage law, but nothing happened, almost nothing happened. And also negotiation with the banks and the administrations in terms of giving solution to the people evicted.
¿En qué se transforma todo esto, este primer proceso de visibilización? En procesos de empoderamiento individual y colectivo, porque una acción de desobediencia civil, ¿no? Cuando la gente se para delante de las casas y consigue paralizar un desahucio, es decir, consigue hacer posible lo que parecía imposible, lo que hace es empoderarse, ¿no? Lo mismo para las otras acciones, ¿no? El objetivo en las asambleas colectivas también es empoderar de manera individual y colectiva, ¿no? Las personas pasan de culpables a víctimas de una estafa. La primera frase que se les dice cuando llegan a las asesorías colectivas es: tú no eres culpable, tú eres víctima de una estafa a nivel mundial, ¿no? Eso hace que se quiten la mochila de la culpa, se descargan de esa culpa, y es la única manera en la que las personas se movilizan. Entonces, se rompe con el inmovilismo social que nos impedía muchas veces salir del sofá, ¿no? Se le devuelve la esperanza. Utilizo la palabra auciar, que yo sé que es difícil de traducir. La palabra desahucio viene de quitar toda esperanza de conseguir algo. Yo por eso quiero rescatar la palabra auciar. Lo que se hace con este tipo de procesos es devolver esa esperanza, auciar, ¿vale? Empoderar a las personas para que sean protagonistas de su propio proceso y de esa manera emprender procesos de emancipación colectiva y global. O sea, hay mucho más detrás de paralizar un desahucio. No es solamente paralizar un desahucio, es una escuela de ciudadanía, ¿no? Porque la gente viene y empieza luchando por el derecho a la vivienda. Pero a partir de ahí se genera una red de solidaridad que hace que empieces a luchar también. Vamos a hacer un mercadillo de trueque para intercambiar los libros de texto, ¿no? Vamos a luchar por el centro social, vamos a luchar por todo. Perdonad, he sido larga.
So the whole system was focused on for the house to be a property of the people. You know, all the laws were aimed to tax extensions, and they give free credits or very cheap credits and mortgages. So the whole, let's say, policy and governmental tool was focused for being a property. And somehow when the eviction started, people were losing their jobs and they started to cannot pay their light or their invoices. And somehow those people suffer a guilty feeling. They feel guilty for not being capable to pay or being able to pay the house, the mortgage and the invoices or whatever. So they are trying to empower people by changing their minds and let's say saying to the people they are not victims, they are not guilty for their situation, but they are victims of the system. I mean, the whole system was built by the laws and the banks to suffer that situation, and so they are not guilty. And this is the empowerment process that PA started, also with the people stopping the evictions directly on the street. So there were many evictions, very violent in the street. The police and the bombers came to their houses. The people were standing and waiting inside the house, and you can see some of the videos which are impressive in YouTube, for example, of the evictions. You can see people in the kitchen cooking, and suddenly the police start knocking on the door and they blast the door with a hammer or somehow. So many people started to make resistance in the houses. So the police, it was more and more difficult to get the eviction, and so they have like two layers, like the physical layer, which is to stop the eviction, put people in the street against the police to stop the eviction. But the other layer was the symbolic layer, which is those police and those bombers were somehow suffering the guilty also. They were doubting if their job is to evict people or not. So they were trying to deconstruct and to struggle against the evictions in this symbolic layer. And this is the empowerment not only for the affected of the eviction, but the whole society.
Segunda parte del proceso, después de haber hecho esa parte de visibilización, la construcción de este nuevo sujeto político, ¿no? Pero ¿qué es lo que realmente imprime una marca diferencial a este movimiento? Y aquí es donde entra lo que yo llamo, y lo importante de utilizar la variable de género para entenderlo, feminidades ahuciadas, apelando al concepto al que hablaba antes, esperanzadas, masculinidades desahuciadas. Son las masculinidades las que se ven desahuciadas.
So there is like this statement which Carolina says, I don't know if I have to say this, but we're in a Mediterranean and southern country, so the gender agenda and the gender symbolic issue is very important. So the male is supposed to work and is supposed to earn money and is supposed to support the family somehow. And then the female, it's more in the private, well, it's not that classic, but somehow there's some aspects of that classicism which is underneath us. The evictions attack the proud of the male, mainly. So the male is not longer able to pay the invoice and to pay the mortgage. And the self-esteem of the male was totally shocked. So when the male drops because of the eviction and the failure feeling of not being able to support their family and to pay the mortgage, then the female emerge from that situation. And this is what Carolina tries to come out with the gender issue, which is the female supported this new situation against the evictions.
Pero las mujeres siempre han sido las protagonistas de este tipo de procesos, ¿no? Y siempre se han erigido en defensa del común. Llevan mucho tiempo, no solamente aquí en España, luchando por la defensa del espacio de reproducción material y simbólica de la vida, no solamente de las casas, sino de las tierras y de las ciudades. Y ejemplos tenemos miles, no solamente aquí en España. Ocupaciones de tierra en Sudamérica, en África y en India. Huertos urbanos, casas y bloques en Norteamérica, y en España, si habéis oído a Silvia Federici, un libro que se llama Revolución 0.0 o algo así, habla precisamente de este tipo de procesos. No es algo nuevo, siempre ha sido así. Tiene que ver con lo simbólico, ¿no? Las mujeres en el espacio público, los hombres en el espacio privado, y tiene que ver con otras muchas cosas, para que no...
So following with this idea, the males are supposed to fight against their social rights or their labor rights. And they are fighting against in demonstration and protest against the labor rights. But once you touch the main resources of the family, which is the land or the housing, you can find that the female fight emerge. And this happened previously in Argentina and South America, where the females defend their lands and the soil, which were somehow endangered by the new developments. So the PA movement and also the eviction movement is very deep related with the female aspects.
Yo utilizo siempre el ejemplo del caso del movimiento de mujeres en lucha en Argentina, ¿vale? En el año 95, en la región de La Pampa, el contexto económico era muy parecido a lo que pasa ahora en España. Estas mujeres, que eran la mayoría productoras agropecuarias, dueñas de una chacra, que es una granja, se vieron también en una situación muy parecida a la española. ¿Y qué es lo que pasó? Pues hubo un momento, en el año 95, Lucy de Cornelis, la mujer de un productor agropecuario... ¿Qué? Voy muy rápido. Ah, vale, bueno, venga, intento resumir, ¿vale? Estas mujeres reclamaban el fin de los remates y las ejecuciones en los campos, analizar la legitimidad de la deuda y mejorar las condiciones de los créditos futuros. Es decir, mismas reivindicaciones que la PA, o al menos parecidas, mismas formas de lucha, o al menos parecidas, porque usaban la desobediencia civil, y mismas protagonistas, las mujeres. Aquí más evidente, porque en este movimiento solamente había mujeres. En España hay mujeres, mayoritariamente, y hay hombres también, pero los hombres que participan en el movimiento lo hacen con otra mirada.
So this is one of the examples that PA looks, which is in the Pampa in Argentina, las chacareras, which were females that fight for the soil, for the land in their places, with the same tools and the same processes that PA are looking for. And yeah, they wanted to restructure the debt, they wanted to recover the soil and the land, and while the male were facing the problem with other, let's say, steering, the females took the initiative to fight against the trouble.
Como decía, al igual que el movimiento de mujeres en lucha, la PA es un movimiento liderado y compuesto por mujeres principalmente, y los varones que se incorporan lo hacen con otra mirada. O sea que el género se convierte en una variable fundamental para entender el devenir de este nuevo sujeto político, ¿vale? Que digo, y hablo de feminidad, no es cuestión de contar, hay hombres también que participan, pero con esa nueva mirada. Pero son las mujeres las que están liderando la lucha. Por una razón objetiva, la feminización de la pobreza, evidentemente son las más afectadas por la crisis, pero hay otra subjetiva. Los hombres, muchas veces en estas situaciones, incapaces de cumplir con el mandato de género de ser el sostenedor principal de la familia, ante estas situaciones, lo que hacen es, a veces, cargarse de vergüenza, irse, ¿no? Nos encontramos con muchas mujeres que se han quedado aquí solas, con su problema de vivienda, y con los niños, y él ha desaparecido. Y cuando se queda es muy probable que caiga en depresión. No pasa en todos los casos, pero preguntándoles a ellos, ellos mismos te lo dicen, ¿no? La carga social de la vergüenza.
So this is the main idea, the gender as one of the main engines or power of the struggle, and then you have the two aspects of the gender, which is the objective one is the poverty, which is mainly focused on women, and the other one, which is subjective, is the gender idea, which is, as I told you before, the males are supposed to support the family, so they get ashamed of the personal failure to not being able to pay the mortgage or support family.
Bueno, como decía otra vez, las mujeres son las que sacan a la escena pública un problema que se creía privado, que era el del endeudamiento de las familias, haciéndose eco de lo que decía Kate Miller, lo personal es político, pero además le imprimen una marca diferencial al movimiento, y es que tiene que ver con conectar lo cotidiano, lo personal, con lo colectivo, con conectar de alguna manera la esfera pública con los cuidados. O sea, se erigen en defensa de los espacios, con sus cuerpos, y además establecen lazos de solidaridad basados en lo común y basados en los cuidados. Ejemplos de estos hay muchos, ¿vale? Sé que tenemos poco tiempo, pero luego os voy a dar algunos enlaces para que podáis verlo.
So while, for example, job is related with money or the family support, the house is related with the care policy and the children and the deceased, the sick people, the elderly people. So the females, the women use the private spaces, the domestic spaces of their housing and emerge a new public aspect, a new public sphere or new public field which is connected with the private or supposed to be the private.
Y este para mí es el inicio de la revolución urbana, de estas nuevas formas de construir el común, ¿no? Y aquí recupero un poco el concepto de las antiguas corralas, las construcciones que se hacen alrededor del común con un patio central, ¿no? Que en el fondo son viejas y nuevas formas de organizar lo cotidiano, que además mujeres que han recuperado edificios enteros, en toda España hay unos cuantos ejemplos que los he puesto aquí abajo, donde han hecho un proyecto de vida comunitaria, ¿no? Cocina comunitaria, socializamos los cuidados, huertos urbanos, ¿no? Y espacios comunes, todo alrededor de lo común. Y nuevas dinámicas en la organización de lo común, es decir, la horizontalidad, el asamblearismo, ¿no? La búsqueda de consensos, estas nuevas formas que no solamente adquieren las mujeres, sino que se contagian también a los hombres y que ha hecho precisamente que España esté en el contexto político actual, ¿no? Y que ya todas estas cosas se asumen. El 15M tiene también mucho de esto y tiene que ver con esto, con esa mirada femenina. Perdón.
So women turns upside down the men practices as individuals and public, and they started to socialize the carers and make a collective and communal life in terms of urban gardens and common spaces, playgrounds for the kids, and also the way they organize themselves as assemblies or more shared organizations as a communal life.
Ejemplos, como os decía, tenéis, si queréis ampliar información, en el blog de Salz, en Girona, lo desalojaron, en la Corrala Utopía, en Sevilla, que también desalojaron, aquí en Madrid también hay algunos ejemplos. No todos han funcionado bien, pero todos se hacían desde ese proyecto colectivo, ¿vale? Solamente rescatar una última frase. Hay un vídeo en internet que os recomiendo que veáis, es el de la Corrala Utopía, son las razones de las mujeres que acabaron ocupando ese edificio, pero rescato una frase que decía una vecina, que yo creo que sintetiza muy bien todo esto, y es: no tengo interés en tener la propiedad de la vivienda, lo que yo quiero es vivirla. O sea, una casa no son solo ladrillos, es el espacio de reproducción material y simbólica de la vida, ¿no? O sea, que es importante.
So Carolina invites you all to watch the videos in YouTube and to be sensibilized by this topic, and she wants to end the lecture with this idea of one of the people which suffer an eviction is she doesn't want to have a house as a property, she just wants to live it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We will go fast with the next guest.
I'm very happy to have Sara Alvarellos as an expert invited today with us. I didn't know her personally, but we knew at Batman some of their work. We thought it would be great to have it here for the workshop. She studied architecture here in Madrid at the school, but she focused her professional practice in the intersection of art, technology, and architecture. And among a lot of things that she does, she's going to talk to us today about a project of her with other people that is called Data Citizen Driven City. And a couple of things that she told me that were important for her is that she has started Make Space here in Madrid in 2013, which is a place for a combination of digital and traditional fabrication, which is like the first place in Madrid, I think, or one of the first places to do so. And this year, like 15 days ago, she organized a mini maker fair in Madrid, which is like one of the first events of this kind that happened in Madrid too. So, well, I just want to thank her a lot for coming.
Thank you. So after the awesome presentation, we just see, I'm going to try to do my best, but I'm just going to share with you a learning experience. So, okay, this is not going to be like so impressive like the presentation before, okay? So this is the learning experience about smart cities, citizen sensing, citizen science. Okay, so I'm just going to share with you my personal experience with that. So it was like 2011, I finished my degree here. I was super bored of architecture. I was super bored of drawing plans and maps. So I decided that instead of paying for a master, I wanted to do something real. I joined a space called Media Prado in Madrid. It's a place where artists, technologists, and this kind of strange, freaky people met to run the multidisciplinary projects. And I made some friends, some great friends, passionate in electronics, informatics, computer science, artists, data visualization. So we decided that we wanted to create or to measure our own data about air quality in the city of Madrid. Why? Because, the city is quite polluted. At that time, the mayor of our city, so Ana Botella, decided to change the sensors, the official sensors that were in Paseo de la Castellana to a forest in the middle of my boss. So, used to be my boss 2 years ago. So, that's it. So, we start working on air quality. And we launched the project at Media Prado. Marcos is the director of that place. So, and they host the project. They leave us a place to work, a place to run our research, a place to institutionalize our project. And we wanted to create a framework where people could make or measure the air quality in the city. So we decided that first of all we should understand the problem. Then we will propose small experiments. Then we will gather this data, and then we will propose some ways of solving the air quality problem in the city. That is like hypothesis, super utopian thing. We didn't know anything at that moment, okay? So instead of researching ourselves just in a small room at home, we use Media Prado to communicate also our project to other people, and we invite other people to join us into the project of measuring air quality in the city of Madrid, citizen sensing. Okay? So we start to run conference and invite experts on air quality, and then we did that in a public way. So people came to our conference, the Media Lab, and they came to our meetups. So what people wanted to help? What were the people that wanted to help to design their own way to measure air quality in the city? So people that have some respiratory disorders, or people that, in a way, they have a relationship with the technology we're looking for to use, or the well-being of their own lives. So this is Media Lab Prada. So Media Lab Prada is an institution depending on the city hall. This is, as I already told you, this is the place that hosts the project. Then we built in that community, offering workshops and offering conferences and inviting people. We met some super interesting actors for the project, like Felix Pedrero, that teach us a lot and told us a lot about open data access. All these have really changed, because now we have an open data platform at the City Council, but 4 years ago it didn't exist. Then we met also Roberto San Jose. So we told him that we wanted to build a low-cost sensor network. And he's an expert, and he explained us that it would be very interesting for him to have this data too, the data we wanted to gather, because it could be complementary to the official data. As the official data of air quality in the city is not really representing what you are breathing, because it's like a general, it's a calculation up to this area. I measure. So we start running, and we start like researching on the technology. We start looking for sensors, Arduinos, and all the electronics we need to measure real-time air quality data. Okay? And we realized that we weren't the only ones in the world looking for this technology and trying to develop this kind of projects. There was already a community in New York, another community in Amsterdam, and they were also running workshops and trying to find a way to measure their own air quality. So we joined them, and we worked. So we organized the workshops, but we were collaborating all the time and talking to the other groups in London and Amsterdam, and we were sharing our conclusions and our opinions on sensors and all the testing. And there was also an enterprise that's called Pachube, that sponsored our project. Okay, so they give us the hardware and the sensors to start prototyping. So this is one of the workshops we run in Media Lab. Among those workshops also we were teaching other people electronics, and all of the people involved in this big community with different expertise were saying their own approaches and their own knowledge. So we built like a non-professional community of education or teaching. So we also get in contact with universities and with people that were working on these technologies. We started gathering data, and we realized that the technology we had wasn't enough good for our purpose. But at the same time, the same sensors we were using, they were being used in a Smart Santander project, so a big project, public funded with Telefonica and so on, in north of Spain. So there was a limitation in the technology, and we discovered this while running the project, while running the workshops, and while trying to do a community research on this. Yeah, so we start gathering data, some conclusions, and then at the end, we realized we need the academic perspective. As we were like strange people, strange citizens doing strange research. So we knocked the door of this woman. So she is part of the very important university in Madrid. And she offered us the opportunity to collaborate with one of her students. So Alejandro, one of her students, used our prototype. He put it next to the official sensor of the city hall, official sensor, and measured and calibrate and work with that. Okay, and we also learned a lot about her experience, and she told us, for example, that we design cities without thinking about all the things that are not visible. For example, pollution. And they have realized that it depends on how you plant the trees into a street, that the air quality will be better or worse, and the pollution will get stuck in a place or not. And some people in her department were studying this. That was very interesting for me at that moment to discover that. So this is Alejandro's presentation, so you can see it in the website, Media Lab's website, because there's an archive and you have all the videos and stuff. And so the conclusion was that our low-cost sensor, or our low-cost device, was giving data that approached the tendency of the official data. Okay, so we were not that crazy at the beginning with the low-cost sensing project. And we also, that's quite technical, well, we work with other universities about metadata. So it's how we organize data and how we connect and link one data with other data. So this is like the community, people coming from all backgrounds and expertise. And we have an idea that these devices, it doesn't make any sense to have one of these devices in your house, because it doesn't matter. So we find that the most interesting thing of using these devices was like running a library. That means that, for example, we could, so this is a friend of us that lived near the M30 road, and they came to us and they wanted to put some devices at the specific places because they wanted to know what was the pollution in their area. So the idea of the library was to have a platform to share knowledge about these kind of devices and to offer citizens, to offer the opportunity to citizens to use these devices to gather data about what they care most about. So maybe for this community would be air quality, but for another community would be noise. So the idea was that as a community we could prototype these devices and we could share the knowledge to use it, and then we could every 15 days take all the data from these communities and from the experiment and try to find a way and a discussion and learning about that. And that's quite funny because the other day I'm working now for the US Embassy, and they bring a guy from US from a library, and they are doing exactly this project now. So we think about this library devices library project 2011. And now in the Cori library, Cori Doty is running exactly the same project we wanted to run in the United States with a sensor called SafeCast, so a device called SafeCast. So that was the idea, but well, we didn't find, as you can imagine, the economical resources to execute that library. So to make this library real. So we had devices. Now the technology we were working with in 2011 now is super old. So you can imagine how IoT technologies, Internet of Things technology have been developed incredibly. So this is super old project now. But now this project could be done with a very low cost budget. And yeah, so at the end, for me, the most important thing was to build a platform where people could learn, multidisciplinary platform where people could learn from a lot of different things out of the university and out of any institution and completely grassroots. So that's the most important thing for me. So yeah, so it was a great opportunity to work as citizens and to join institutions, universities, Media Lab in that project with that. So they helped us, and that was quite important for us as citizens. We didn't think no one was going to take care of our project. Yeah. And then we realized that for running this kind of projects and building our devices, we need a space in the city, because like private space or space of the community. And that's how finally we decided to found MakeSpace Madrid, which is a digital fabrication laboratory where a lot of people that we meet during this project, that were part of this project, are now developing their own technologies, their own prototypes, their own projects. And so that's like the first step on this other big project that it would be, that I can't talk about this project, but in another talk. So it's enough. So that's it. Thank you.
So thank you very much, Sara, for this presentation. Very different perspectives, so I think we can make a nice picture before them.
Hello everyone, thanks for staying and thanks for coming. I'm going to present the next lecturer. He's called García, and he's been the head of content and development and coordination at Media Lab since 2006. The Media Lab, in my opinion, it's great that Sara was speaking just before Marcos, because Media Lab, in my opinion, is like one of the places in Madrid where knowledge is being created, it's being discussed, and it's being shared. A place where experts and amateurs work like collectively in workshops, and a space where art, technology, science, society, activism, education meet in projects in the realm of like digital culture. Some of the projects like Interactivos, the Commons Lab, or Visualizar have had a great impact in our work and in the work of many people in Madrid and all around the world. And also it's very interesting if you are able to go and visit the Media Lab. The building was refurbished by a couple of architects called Langarita Navarro, and it's a very, very nice building. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, Juan. Thank you very much for the invitation. I don't have an image presentation prepared, but what I would like to try to offer in the next 30 minutes is the kind of questions that we are trying to ask in relation with kind of digital culture that we're promoting, and I will explain later, and the kind of city that the digital culture may configure, and also the kind of institutions that we may be able to design nowadays, or the kind of institution that really respond to the present demands. And finally, I would also like to talk about the actual design of places, not only the design of institutions as a software or operating system, but as places, the relationship between the digital culture and the material culture. So this will happen in 20 minutes, and I'll do it very quickly, and maybe later we can discuss it. So first idea that, in a way, cities organize their places and the space to different functions. There's a lot on the history of how the urban contexts are being organized depending on functions. And the question is how places where knowledge is being produced are located nowadays, and those places, those institutions that we have inherited, and what happens with them with the outbreak of the internet and the digital culture. So let's put an example, the idea of library that responds to a specific technology, written technology, and the press, and the printmaking, and this kind of culture also has configured specific ways of learning and specific models of institutions. If you think of libraries and how books organize through shelves, and you put them, you have these, the books have to be put in specific places in the library. When the library is very big, then you need to separate it through disciplines. There is this Dewey decimal system, or this universal decimal system. You have the number 1 is philosophy, and then you have 2 religion, 3 social sciences, 4 sciences. So each shelf and each book is located in a specific place, and this creates a distance between disciplines. And what it happens, what I wanted to expose is that what it happens in the library has also a reflection in the cities. So, for example, if you have the main library of a university becomes small, and then you have the humanities and then the science library, and this generates distance. So this kind of distance that is shaping also cities and the physical space. Now I think it has to be rethought, because if you think of the internet as a place where knowledge is located only quickly by a click, then the distances between disciplines get smaller. So that would be one of the first examples of how digital may affect the physical space, the material culture, and also how we design institutions. Another thing that I think is important from digital culture and the internet is that it enables the creation of platforms where users have a lot to say. They can create value, and this value is incorporated into these platforms. And if you think of the institutions that we have inherited, they mainly separate places of production and places of reception, and the roles of the participants. There are those that are producing, mainly experts, they're producing contents or whatever, and then the citizens or the users that are only participating as spectators. So that would be the other challenge how we create places or institutions where anyone can get involved in the production processes. So I think those would be the two main features of the kind of challenges that we are facing nowadays. First, the separation between disciplines, and then the separation between the institution users and the institutions themselves. Okay, so I will put some examples of the kind of practices that I think are interesting, coming from the digital culture, that are not happening online and are not happening or are not only happening online or in the website, but also affect a lot in the physical space and the face-to-face communication. Sorry, now you start to. Should I start again? I feel it. Sorry. So one very interesting trend that is happening nowadays is this idea of physical computing, or Sara talked about the Internet of Things, and how the digital is affecting directly the physical as a place where data can be trapped or gathered and then shared. And this gives us a lot of information about our cities, and this can shape also the cities and the participation happening there. Another one would be digital fabrication, but I also like other kinds of practices that are not so linked to the technologies themselves, but to practices that are coming from hackers communities, or nowadays makers communities, and I would like to put some examples. These are called the open space technologies. So different formats of being together, where participants in these gatherings have a lot to say. They are not only participating as listeners or spectators. So you have the bar camps or a conference where there isn't a program established. There is a meeting to talk about something, but the participants, they write their names in a cardboard and they can become speakers. This is one case. Another would be flash mobs. This idea of calling a lot of people that you don't know to perform an act a surprising act for example, in the streets, to get frozen or to have a pillow battle or something like that. These kind of experiences that are a new use, an unexpected use of the public space. There are also some other kinds of activities. Sara and Cesar from Make Space organized recently a Maker Fair, and this is a classical model in a way, because there's a lot of people that make things and they want to share what they do, and it's like a little fair where people share knowledge, and they like a crossing road where different people get together and exchange and learn together and practice together. But this kind of event nowadays brings many different profiles. Not only normally these kind of meetings were very specific, and participants have a very similar profile, and nowadays they really gather a lot of diversity. We have hack meetings, and we have hackathons or datathons, where a group of people get together to produce something, to make a prototype, a mobile application, or a 3D printer, or to write a book, to make something, edit some Wikipedia articles, whatever. They get together to produce, not only to receive something. So these are some of the type of activities that are happening nowadays, and and they may be a good source of inspiration in order to define other kinds of institutions that facilitate this kind of process of production and also bringing together people of different disciplines. So that's actually what we are trying to respond to at Media Alvarado. You see here the website. During these months of March until June, there is this big event called Open Data, and the idea is to offer a long enough event where many of the activities around data culture and data economics and policies can be put together, and also including some production workshops like this one. This is starting tomorrow. This is the seminar, Common in Data. Tomorrow and Wednesday, there's the start of the workshop. There have been eight projects selected, and then once they have been selected, now there is an open call for collaborators, and anyone can apply and spend a couple of weeks developing a prototype. And this is a good model for community building first, because people have the chance to really meet each other, talk to each other, but also do it around a specific project that is of their concern. It might be the quality of the air, it might be the how to create designed applications to make better the relationship between the administration and the citizens. It can be many things. But those participants that get together around this specific project is because they have something to contribute to that project, and they want other contributions to learn. So this will start tomorrow, and you're invited for that. And this is a model. Now I don't know how much time I have. 5 minutes.
Yeah, you have 10 more minutes.
10 more minutes.
I don't finish.
Okay.
There's no compulsion.
No, 5 minutes to talk about the question of the places. How we do design, and you are architects, so how do you design a place where the functions of this place are not really defined? It will be defined by the users, or by the use that the users want to make about it. When there is no a disciplinary approach, so you don't know the function, you know it will be a production place, but you don't know what kind of projects are going to be produced. You don't have a disciplinary approach, so there isn't much, or you have to look for different traditions. You can look at I don't know, traditional workshops. You can look at seminar spaces. You can look at classrooms, seminar places, but there is no one specific tradition or disciplinary tradition. And how do you design a place with that kind of uncertainty? Is that possible? Well, we have started a process of thinking how these kind of places can be designed or furniture with some pieces of furniture together with a collective called Zuluac. I think they have been involved here. And the idea is to build or design a workshop, an open workshop, to design open source furniture that enables the different working groups and the different projects that are happening at the Media Lab. Some of them have to do with graphic design, others have more to do with industrial design, some of them are related to textile and knitting, others have to do with software programming, so some of them have to do with citizen science and biology labs. So there is no specific focus. So the idea is start to working together with them and start to build these places that we call workstations. We've already been through in this building for 2 years already, and this idea of the workstation was at the beginning there, and we haven't really achieved to have this design, and I think it will take time, because the production of these spaces will depend on the use of the everyday practice. If you go to Medialab, you can visit the Fab Lab, which is the most clear workshop where function is really defined by a technology, which are the 3D printers, the laser cutters, CNC, and so on. So you can see a workshop, it's nearly defined. And there we have a problem, because then to define the rules of use and the protocols of use is also taking a lot of time. So my conclusion, what we have is a lot of open questions that are not answered, but I think these kind of questions are the ones that we really need today in order to respond to the present needs. So, as I have 5 minutes, I would like to listen to some questions or comments if you have. Thank you.